on something we're actually seeing right now. Angela and I had a conversation previously, and I want her to weigh in, especially with Joe. But we're seeing, let's look back 30, 40 years, Keith. In Pittsburgh, in Cleveland, in Detroit, the Rust Belt, that jobs were shipped overseas. People weren't shipped overseas. Jobs, especially with steel and manufacturing, were sent to Canada, Japan, sent to China, right? And a lot of those people built up a base around Donald Trump because he wanted to bring their jobs back. The people still stayed. They never left. Now we're seeing that similar scenario happen with California. You're seeing jobs leaving. You're seeing jobs go to Texas, to Florida, due to taxation and whatnot. The people aren't leaving. The jobs are leaving. The jobs are moving. Will California turn into this new form of Rust Belt?
Well, it's tough to say. I mean, I don't think anybody, Angela and I both live in Los Angeles, and I don't know anybody who's terribly happy with the state of Los Angeles right now. I mean, there are tents lining every major street and underpass. I don't remember seeing a road paved in the last decade. I've seen a quick slathering job, but no, the place is not well run. So no, yeah, people should leave, to be honest. And I'm not saying that as some type of vendetta. I'm saying like people are too concentrated for a number of reasons. I mean, look at the one of the few things that I think might be positive that to come out of COVID is the remote working, which I'm hoping a large part of that sticks with us after COVID gets a little bit settled with the vaccination and whatever, because we need people to stop clustering in 10 places in the entire country while the rest of the country slowly gasps for its last breath. We need to kind of pop that bubble and send people flying out into other areas of the country. Frankly, I wouldn't mind living a little bit further outside of Los Angeles. I'm kind of stuck here due to family stuff, but I know a lot of people who are just like, I'm in the west side of Los Angeles. The property prices here are ridiculous. So no, I mean, if for only that, but I do believe that that kind of diaspora would also assist it would make gerrymandering more difficult, which is, I think, a huge root cause of where we are right now, because of the safe districts, meaning you're only threatened from the far right or the far left. I think there are a lot of positives to pushing people out of these city centers. We're too clustered. So I'm actually not concerned about people leaving the cities. I'm hoping that they do, because
so I want to get a little bit more, right? Just digging into your point. I don't want the audience to just see the headline. So you just said that the cities were poorly run to begin with, and that's why we're seeing a lot of this. You're a Democrat. Well, most of those cities are Democrat-run cities. Los Angeles, New York City. Mm-hmm. You look at just the map that won in the presidential election. They were just primarily major cities, 477 counties, primarily major cities for Joe Biden to win the election. Most of them are Democrat-run. So you're acknowledging. Again, I'm not attacking, right? I want to get more out of it. You're acknowledging that's not necessarily the best well-run way of doing it, but it sounds to me like you voted for the Democrats to put them in power to begin with. Was the Republican the better choice looking back?
Well, I don't know even what a Republican would look like in Los Angeles. It's been so long since one came to the fore. But here's the catch. I'm not sure you can run a city the size of Los Angeles. There are over 10 million people in LA County. How? Exactly. What are you going to do? Like, there's just too many people. We're tripping over each other. We can't stand being around each other half the time. There's just too many of us. So, spread out.
Joe, could somebody from the Green Party come in and do the job that Keith's saying is pretty difficult?
We've run into some problems with Greens getting into office, and they do like the centralization. They recognize the power that's embedded in those positions. Now, LA, San Jose, some of the larger cities like that, it's universally Democrats. They have the urban platform. They have the people. they know how to speak to them in order to bring them in. Where you're looking at green candidates that come in and have proven successful as mayors, you're looking at much smaller communities where you're not dealing with that level of challenge that goes on. And unfortunately, the Libertarians have the same problem in that where they've been successful, it is smaller communities. So we haven't had the test of our philosophy at that level yet. Could we? Quite possibly. Go in, do the decentralization, allow the boroughs to take care of themselves while they work with a central planning committee in, the New York mayor's office, rather than having the New York mayor try and dictate to each of the boroughs how they're supposed to operate. But every one of those major cities that we've looked at, the problem ultimately comes back to corruption. Flint, Michigan, it's corruption there. Detroit, it's corruption. LA, it's corruption. You have people who get into office and immediately the cronyism starts kicking in. You pat my back, I'll pat your back. And it just continues to pad the bill while people continue to pay until they reach the point where, it's not worth it anymore. But to Keith's point, when it comes time for everybody to spread out, the Los Angeles diaspora, let's LA start spreading out to Texas and Idaho and Wyoming. And they take their jobs with them when they can, the remote work. The people that are leaving are the people who have wealth enough to leave. Mm-hmm. So you end up with the poor people getting stuck in LA with the worst of the government. And now that the rich people have left with their money, with their incomes, with their jobs, in order for LA to continue to operate, they have to continue to tax the poor.
Well, LA hasn't run into it, Joe. I'm going to get more out of you on your point, right? I'm not challenging, getting more out of you. LA has never run into this before. Has never run into quote unquote mass exodus of jobs, not necessarily people, but of jobs, right? Detroit has run into that. Where their jobs left and the people stayed. I mean, to put it into real perspectives, we're talking about people, thousands of people back then would have equivocated to about $100,000 a year salaries in today's money. Thousands of those jobs left. The people stayed. They didn't have much to go back on. What's the backbone of LA going to look like if all of these jobs leave?
You're going to end up with no backbone. Literally, the poor are the ones that are going to be left. You can look at Tesla. They've picked up, they've moved. They're going to train the people in Texas in order to take over those jobs. So unless you pick up and move to Texas with Tesla, you won't have a job to continue working in the automobile industry. You'll have to find something else to do. And maybe you can, maybe you can't. Where we're looking at tech jobs, Google, Facebook, those jobs, a lot of them have moved remote because there's no point in them staying in California. But that's going to be the interesting thing because California big tech companies want to stay in California. Their job is in California. The California income tax will continue to tax even the remote workers. It's one of the new legislation that's going in there. So you're looking at a situation where literally either they pick up and move, and big tech still has the arrangement where they continue to pay income taxes for their employers back to California, or people start going, we got a new platform. We're just going to divest and move on to someplace else. And we've already seen it happen. Parler, despite its current difficulties, is already ready to step up in another location where it's not dealing with the big tech giants like Google and Amazon and their platforms. So we're seeing more and more diversity in the big tech economy right now, which I won't lie, I'm enjoying seeing it.
Angela, to get back to the main point, it's pretty scary to think that a lot of these people are going to be desperate if they lose jobs. Not necessarily desperate, but to what Joe and what Keith were saying, we'll take Tesla for an example. They move automotive production to Texas. Where else can an American then get an automotive production job if they're not in Detroit? They're not in the United States. They'd have to go to Canada or Mexico. They're not willing to or wouldn't be able to get a job there. They pay far less than here in the United States. Is this just an endless cycle that really is going to just transform the United States. How are we, as average people, to navigate something like this?
Well, I think this is why we need to stop looking at the federal government as our savior and look closer to home and find solutions here in the now and fix the problems that are right in front of our face. It's sort of like Jordan Peterson said, you need to get your house in order before you go around and start telling people further out what to do. And yeah, I do believe that the economy is going to constantly shift. New technologies are going to arise, for example, and that's going to outdate old technologies, and people are going to have to adapt. Before Tesla left, Toyota left. It should be a lesson to people in California so that they understand this is the trend, this is what's happening. We probably need to move or shift jobs. I wish it would be a lesson that legislators learned, but unfortunately, they are, very much tied to special interests and cronyism. They're probably going to continue to push policies that are harmful to middle and lower classes in California, and we're going to see more industries leave. I don't think that we need to be fighting against each other over stuff like that. We need to recognize the people that are doing us harm, and that's the people who are taxing these industries out of the state and making it difficult for us to just live and enjoy our lives.
Keith brought up a point previously that it's really hard to run something like LA County. It's massive. Not saying that only a Democrat can do it, but he said it's almost impossible to do. Can a Libertarian run LA County?
Well, it's a failing infrastructure. I think that the crumbling roads are really, they're a very good analogy for the rest of the city too. And we've had too much of a consolidation of power for a very large chunk of people. Could a Libertarian run it? Well, probably, because a Libertarian would immediately decentralize as much as possible so that smaller communities would have more authority to make decisions. But the reality is that there are already a lot of problems in place, and no one under any type of party banner is going to be able to come in and wave a magic wand and make those problems go away. We have pockets of people who live in desperate poverty, and there's no simple solution for that. We have over 80,000 homeless people in LA County. We can't come in and magically house them all. There are things like that where the consequences are going to last for years, even if you get someone in really good leadership in who has a lot of great ideas, even if we implement every great idea.
It's hard for me to understand, Angela, because taxation, and I'm sure Keith can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but taxation is typically for the benefit of the majority of people. So if you have taxation, it's usually for roads, and that's how it's sold to us, that we need infrastructure and whatnot. Here in Florida, we have 1/5 the taxes of California. We've got brand new roads. I don't think I've ever seen a pothole here in Florida. I've been here for 15 years. I don't think I've ever seen one. Our infrastructure is amazing. We mainly thrive off of tourism, and with our tourism down, we're still doing very well. They're doing some massive projects, ramping up for when tourists do come back. So how can Florida do it with far less taxation, Angela, than California, who has some of the highest taxes in the country?
Taxation funds bureaucrats. It funds war at the federal level, and at the local level, it sort of funds a war on the poor and the middle class. Bloated pension budgets from government employees. We have way too many government employees. Mid-level paper pushers who don't do anything that contributes to any meaningful impact on our lives. I understand we need roads. We can all argue about who will build the roads, and I can scream about private roads and so on and so forth. But the here and now will show you that we have way too much money going into the government, and that it stops there and it doesn't flow back out to the people. Because Texas, Florida, plenty of other states have far less taxation, and you walk around and their roads aren't falling apart, and they don't have shanty towns and, embarrassing flight of the middle class.
Keith, I don't want it to sound like it's an attack on you at all. I definitely want you to respond to Angela and Joe. And Richard, we're going to get you your words in. I promise. You've been waiting patiently. I appreciate that. But Keith, I definitely want you to respond, especially to the point that I brought up. You guys do have a lot of taxation out there, and that's something that we're seeing in the news come up again and again. And Florida just really doesn't. And it sounds to me like there's a lot of companies that are leaving. We even got a memo from Disney wanting to move a lot of their major operations now down here to a location called Lake Nona, up and coming location. They could buy some cheap land and had thousands of jobs down here. What's your response to all of that, Keith?
Nothing good for the Democrats. I'm sorry to say. I don't know where our money is going, to be honest. As I said, it's not going to the roads. LA Unified is a terrible district, and all the parents that I know have fought tooth and nail to make sure that their children don't go to it. And so far, the response from the far left has been to call that racist. Well, God, come on, guys. You can't hide behind that for everything. This is your child. You want to give them the best life. You're going to go. LA Unified has some ungodly. I can't remember what it is, but I remember a while ago there was close to 40% dropout rate.
For the viewers that don't know what LA Unified is, can you briefly tell me what that is?
It's one of the largest school districts in the country.
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't fault any particular person for this, but I don't know. I'm just a forgiving type, I guess. But it's just so big. I think that I don't know that humanity scales in the ways that we're trying to do it in Los Angeles and areas like it. We have to systematize everything, and when you put a system and you need rules can be exploited, and there's always a bad actor waiting to do exactly that. And that's what I think we're suffering from, and that's why I'm in favor of, okay, people want to leave, and then that's not a bitterness thing. I'm not angry at anybody. In fact, and to speak to your earlier point about jobs leaving and then people staying behind and they need to move. Yes, you need to move. This was a huge talking point for us on the left about Trump voters who stayed in these dying towns long after all the jobs left, and they expected Mr. Magic to come in and pull these jobs back into their small town. No, you got to go.
Well, I mean, I'm not attacking Keith. My uncle was a steel worker. He had 25 years of working in the steel mill. Where is somebody like that going to go? I mean, that kind of touches on the COVID point, right? Somebody that's been selling tacos out of a taco truck for 25 years. They shut down all the taco trucks, and we're left with Olive Garden or something like that. Like, where are these people going to go? That's the question. I understand. You bring up the point of, I want to get it out of you, right? I'm not attacking. I just want to say, the coal miners and whatnot, things like that Trump has pandered to. Where can they go if that's all they know, and if that's the only skills that they have? What can they do to maintain those high-level salaries that are, leaving?
You can't. You need new school skills. You need a new job, and there's a very good chance you're going to have to move. And I know it sucks, and I'm not coming, Mr. Privilege here. No, I don't want to do it. But you know what? If it's the choice between that and not making rent every month, I'm going to leave. And, that's why I actually hold immigrants in such high regard, is these are people who pack up. Sometimes they hoof it across all of Mexico on foot. A lot of them, like the women, are getting raped and they're being robbed and beaten. These people go through hell to get here, and they come and they scrap. And so when I see people picking on them, I get kind of pissed, because this is, wow, if I was in that position, I can only hope I would be strong enough to do what they did. So that's when I try to have a heart about this, but the simple fact is, if all the jobs are gone, do you think that there's a lack of work that needs to be done in the world or the country or the state? No. Go
ahead, Richard. I'm gonna let you respond to Keith's. I know you've been waiting patiently, and I appreciate it.
I just want to say, you said your family member was a steel worker. Where's those jobs going to go? There's more steel produced today than ever before in history. So there's no reason why that cannot be produced in this country. And if you want to talk about why our cities are declining, it's one reason. It's the decline of manufacturing in this country. And, with the Green Party, they've completely supported the progressive consumerism and the disposable products that we've had in this country. My mom has a blender from her grandma. It's 40 years old. It still works. I bought 4 vacuums in the last 3 years. Garbage products. We can make better products in this country for higher wages for the people who work here, and it's better for the environment, and it's better for the workers. And you want to talk about corruption in Detroit and St. Louis, I mean, that didn't pop out of anywhere. Detroit, in our lifetimes, was one of the highest wage-earning cities in the country. In our parents' lifetime, it was higher. It was one of the highest in the world. That didn't just go for no reason. It was the systematic exportation of manufacturing. We get disposable goods that go right into a landfill, which every party, including the Republicans, are totally okay with. And then we're going to talk about, well, why are our wages going down? Why do we have so many problems in these countries? So, I mean, a lot of these things, like all of our major cities, we need manufacturing. We are a manufacturing country, and we can make the best products here. And once we have that back, we can get the next industrial revolution, which is, in my opinion, the key. And that's why I don't consider myself necessarily a Republican. I've never voted Republican until Donald Trump, because he was the only person who was talking about this. And this is a green solution. This is really a societal problem. We cannot have this disposable, progressive consumerism, and it's a shame. You know, we have more manufacturing in the world today than any other point in time, but for some reason we can't make it here. You want to put it on a boat, have it shipped back and forth 3 or 4 times to come back to this country. It's ridiculous. We can make the best products here that can last forever, that pay a high wage. It's right in front of our faces, and it's about time we really start talking about this, because it's not about
Richard, so Richard, you know, again, you know, I want to pull a little bit more out of you. That's the whole point of it. We just talked about, you know, and I don't want the viewers to feel like we're vilifying California for anything, and Florida is our savior. I live here in Florida, and we do have some of the lowest test scores in the nation. Are we underfunded? Are we, you know, as a state down here, are we missing the essentials that other states enjoy? You know, where it comes to hospitals, and yeah, we have some nice shiny roads down here. But if you dig a little bit deeper, you know, there is the concept of a Florida meme for a reason. You know, do we have the poorest education for a reason?
You know what? No, honestly, I don't care if you're in Florida or Idaho or California. This is one country. We have a connected supply chain in this country. One state cannot survive on its own entirely. And that's, so when you say, well, does Florida, I mean, I'm sure Florida has some of the best universities in the country as well. We can pick and choose any kind of data points we want to choose. It's not about one state versus the other. It's about bringing back manufacturing jobs in this country. That's going to solve so many societal problems, so many environmental problems, and it's going to really drive our next industrial revolution, which is the whole point. That's the whole point.
But Republicans had 4 years to do that, Richard. Republicans had 4 years to do it. Did they do it?
I think there was some progress made, but not enough progress made. And honestly, I won't vote for any Republican unless they say that they are a Donald Trump supporter, because a lot of these Republicans make me sick to my stomach.
Angela, we're looking highly polarized. I'm not trying to attack any or all of you. I want to get more for the viewer, more for them to get out of this conversation. What enlightenment can you give us on this polarization topic?
I would say that you need to get out and see what's going on in your community and talk to people without asking them what their politics are in the first sentence. You'll find that you have a lot more in common with the Republican or Democrat or whoever down the street than you have with anybody at the Capitol building. Go out and see the problems in your community. Dial back your rage and dial back your focus into seeing what's happening in front of you. Those are the places where you're going to make meaningful change.
But we haven't seen that. We haven't seen it. Somebody can put on a MAGA hat, make America great again, and they're attacked on the streets. Where's the open dialogue?
You need to try to have open dialogue without politics. So maybe you need to take off your MAGA hat for a while, because you just have to acknowledge that it is polarizing. I didn't say forever, but maybe that's a hard pill that you got to swallow right now. Is you've got to be accountable for the political movement that you're in. And I don't see the people all who were protesting at the Capitol as terrorists. I don't. But maybe your opinion about the people protesting at the Capitol shouldn't be the first thing out of your mouth when you're greeting a stranger at a gas station or picking up food to go at a restaurant. Try to reach people in another way. Maybe then we'll have some unity.
Joe, how does legalizing weed and saving the frogs bring us together?
It goes deeper than that,
Oh.
Nick, and you know it. That said, we can step back and we go, what does everybody do when they run out of money? They sell drugs. Do we really want to maintain that as the way forward with regards to how we handle the economy in the United States? We're broke. Let's sell drugs. What's fiat currency doing for us? Oh, let's sell drugs. That ultimately is a cop-out. Reason why is because it doesn't admit to what the root of the problem is. Richard nailed the nail on the head with the fact that we've exported jobs around the world. We no longer maintain industry here. We've granted favored country status to China and a number of other places. Now, one of the things that's really going to hurt an awful lot of egos right now, the fact that we've been at war for over 40 years. We've been using fiat currency in order to stabilize our own economy here in the United States, and we've been forcing every other country around the globe to honor what we believe the value of our make-believe currency should be at the point of a gun. 11 carrier fleets, 10 army divisions. We have troops in 150 countries right now. Our economy is built on force. It's built on the leverage of our military capability, the perpetuation of empire around the globe right now. The second we pull that back, the way we live, my cup of coffee right now, that automatically becomes significantly more expensive. Reason why? Because we can't depend on foreign labor to be cheap, because we're no longer holding a gun to their head for the value of their work.
Appreciate our guests. We appreciate you as the viewer watching this episode. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up, share us on social media, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys. Bye.